properly positioned.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the E-Report on a special segment of the Youth Wisdom. Happy Wednesday, guys. Today's episode, we have another interesting topics to look into, which is going to be presented to us by our amazing guests of today. We know that anyone who is seeking to create impact in society would at one point have to address the public. So that brings us to the question, how do you go about public speaking? And our guest today is one that is very passionate about coaching people on public speaking, training them, and a lot of other things. So welcome today on this episode, Mr. Ebai Ekwet.
Thank you very much.
Welcome, Ebai.
Thank you very much. I'm happy to be here.
So we have a lot to discuss today. We are somebody that's very passionate about public speaking. But before I start telling everybody about you, I'd like you to tell us about yourself. Who is Ebai Ekwet?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Ebai Ekwet is a communications enthusiast, and at this point, I consider myself a public speaking coach, an expert, because in fact, that's what I do. I train people in the area of public speaking, and generally, the work I do is centered around teaching people how to present with elegance, eloquence, and ease. And so that is who Ebai Ekwet is in summary.
Okay, so getting to public speaking, that is a field I usually don't understand how people reach that point and be like, I'm going to teach you how to talk properly. Like, that's practically what you guys do, like how to address people properly. So walk us through your journey of getting to this point of deciding that I'm going to enter public speaking, not just learn it, but be able to teach it to others.
All right. My journey has been quite a fascinating and at the same time a daunting one because it has not been easy to get to this point. One of the things which I know is that the purpose of every man is in the core of his soul. And at the appropriate time, your soul is going to shout out and pull you to the opportunities and the places and the people where you are supposed to be. So my journey started way back. I've always been fascinated about communications in general. And as far back as I was about 4 years old, I remember I always wanted to be a journalist. I always admired the charisma with which some journalists will present the news, will talk about events, past, present, and even future. And what I know is while growing up in very tender age, I wanted to be a journalist. And I grew up in a home where my biological mom is a teacher. My father was a very knowledgeable man. And this, I just caught up, I grew up in an atmosphere of teaching. And so wherever I went to school and other places, I was in quotes, a natural leader because I'm outspoken, I would always speak, I would always want to take initiative and all of that. And so going fast forwarding to my high school and secondary school days, I have a strong science background because I did sciences. And doing sciences, I chose the science series basically because I was good at it and I enjoyed it. But coming to my days, my first years in the university, it wasn't very easy for me because there was a real disconnection I was feeling. Though I had the hope and the intention to actually pull through as an engineering student because I was studying engineering, it didn't work well for me. And so at some point I had to stop and ask myself questions. What do I really want? What do I want to do? Since I cannot make it, or since I am not making it, I prefer to use that term, what can I do? Or what do I think I'm called to do? And so I decided to search my soul. I took many courses online. I decided to take many classes on personal development, on purpose discovery, and some people helped to walk me through that process. And it's in the midst of that process, I had to shift many things out as far as my interests are concerned, because I am that kind of a person who can be very scattered and interested in 100 things at the same time. And so in shifting things out, in trying to choose things, I understood that I really wanted to help people communicate better, because in understanding my passion, I had to really look for things which I love with a passion, and if they connect to things which I hate with a passion. One of the things which I really feel disappointed in is seeing a speaker, a powerful speaker with a lot of potential, missing the opportunity to connect with his audience and create a good memory. And that was my concern. And so with that, I started a platform called Versatile Academy back in 2020. On the 8th of June 2020, I launched that, but it wasn't really very specific to public speaking. So having done that, the idea was just to connect coaches to mentees and have them coach people, because I believed in skill acquisition.
Yeah.
And with time, I noticed that my attention was scattered and I wasn't really making enough impact. So I had to really reevaluate what I was doing again. And then I understood that I needed to focus on public speaking, because that was the core. Public speaking etiquettes, which is the name of a program that I host very regularly, was born in July 2020, because I had the first class online. And after that class, I can assure you that I felt like this is my thing. This is the right thing I'm supposed to be doing. And that is how by 2021, I started focusing more on public speaking, on empowering myself, and at the same time, empowering other people who aspire to be great professional speakers.
That is, I would say, a very interesting journey, because I think I can relate also with the aspect of maybe being in a particular environment and asking yourself, is this for me? Is this for me? And you have to go back and search yourself within and be like, okay, let me find where I actually can put my foot in the world and make my way. So that's actually really something important that I believe everybody should look into when they go through their professional life. Because we find at times many people are into work and they don't really enjoy what they do. They do it mostly because they don't feel like there's anything else out there that is for them. But to have that bonus to say that, oh, I'll step out from engineering because I don't find this was my passion, and I'll chase what I'm really passionate about, that was really commendable. So looking now into the challenges that you face, because I believe that when you get into something that is not really, I would say public speaking is not something that many people value in this day and age. I would say they don't really take it as something to go and maybe pay money to learn or stuff like that. What are certain challenges you faced on your way of maybe learning it and now get to the point of teaching it to other people?
Okay, in learning public speaking, I would say that in the very beginning, I did not have the enough resources to be able to pay for trainings. And so I got some free classes on these giant websites like Udemy and others. And then when I had the resources, of course, I would invest. I have a few coaches in Nigeria who coached me through the process of public speaking and communications. And that was one of my difficulties in the beginning. I wasn't able to have to register for certain courses in public speaking, which I wanted to. Now, another thing is, in the very beginning, I was very excited. I still am, though, but in the very beginning, I was very excited. And since I was very excited and more reactive, I had the impression, or I now have the impression, that I would learn a bit and want to teach it, and would learn a bit and want to teach it. It's not a bad thing to learn and want to teach, but you should go do what you're doing with a plan. It's going to create more significant impact if you do something with a plan. Now, that was my other difficulty, and I guess that is because I didn't know as much then as I know now. Now, in trying to teach people, one of the difficulties that I have faced, especially in the very beginning, was the issue of trying to brand myself properly. Now, in trying to brand yourself, there are certain mistakes that you may make, which I made. For instance, trying to launch programs when you have not done enough campaigns. These kind of things are mistakes in marketing which I made over and over again, and I'm glad that I was wise enough at the end of the day to learn from my mistakes and adjust. And I still do learn from mistakes that I make here and there, because mistakes are part and parcel of the growth journey. And so another thing that is the most difficult, I would say, to me and to many other coaches is the issue of building a community around your public speaking business. If you want to take public speaking as a business, you need to be able to build a community around it. Now, building a community is something which is not easy. It requires a lot of time, a lot of intentionality, a lot of skill. You need to learn managerial skills, leadership skills. You need to have emotional intelligence. You need to be able to deal with people. You need to be able to prioritize, take hard decisions, and all of that. These skill sets, which I've just named, and many others, are skill sets that are not given. You must learn them.
You have to learn them, yeah.
And learning them, applying them at the same time is not easy. You could read all the leadership books in the world. When you meet human beings, you will know that there's a little bit, there's a little bit of a difference.
Everyone has a
And so,
different spice.
yeah, so that's been the other difficulty. And another one which I think I've faced a few times is having to connect with other public speakers. Not everybody is always open, no matter how nice your intentions are. Not everybody is always open to connect, but it's a process, especially connecting with people. It's a process that I believe that everybody should always be trying, especially if you feel that your connection with somebody is going to be mutually beneficial to both parties. Yeah.
Okay. So looking to public speaking, I think sometimes many people have this idea that it's not something that you can call as a career, especially like being a trainer or being a coach. So I don't know, has there been a time where like you introduce yourself like, I do public speaking, like I'm a coach, I'm a trainer, and someone looks at you like, is that a job? Like, have you had instances like that?
Yes, I remember last year, or rather 2023, somebody came to me for mentorship. A friend of mine came to me for mentorship in the public speaking, in the world of public speaking. And so I took him through a period of training and coaching, and we would do practice in several different areas, in restaurants, in public places, and all of that. In the process of building, one day I had the honor of meeting his brother, his kid brother. And I met his kid brother one day, and the kid brother was asking his elder brother, who was my mentee, why do you have to pay somebody to learn how to speak? And so that was an embarrassing scenario, but I understood that there is a lot he doesn't know yet. If he knows, he wouldn't be asking such a question, or he wouldn't be thinking in that direction. And so, yes, I've also had some very sarcastic comments,
Yeah.
people wondering, but speaking in public, it doesn't give money and all of that. First, I know that it's a passion before you start looking for a way to monetize. And I truly believe that every skill, every passion can be monetized.
Okay.
You just really need to be wise, and you need to learn from those who have gone ahead of you.
Wow. Wow. So you're getting it, ladies and gentlemen. If you have a passion in public speaking, let nobody tell you that you don't need to go and learn how to speak. Go and pay the money, go and learn how to speak properly. So when we're looking into public speaking, I think it's something that a lot of ones will find the difference in. When we are talking about public speaking as an act, like just maybe talking and going to the point of wanting to learn, pay to learn how to now like take it to an art, not an act any longer. What differentiates those two, like public speaking as an act and now as an art?
Okay, that's a very interesting question right there. And I would say that public speaking as an act, I view it more like the structural part of public speaking. It's more rigid, more purpose oriented. And the purpose may be just to give information, to persuade, to motivate, or to cause your audience to take a particular action. Now, it has to do with that aspect of information sharing, information giving. That's public speaking as an act. It's more rigid, it's more structured. It has to do with the structural architecture of public speaking. Now, public speaking as an art becomes a creative expression. It's when you the speaker in this case now makes use of humor, makes use of storytelling, makes use of figures of speech, makes use of parts of speech, makes use of literary devices in order to convey not only meaning but beautify its meaning at the same time and establish a rapport. This rapport is a deep intellectual and emotional connection. He or she, as the speaker, wants to be able to connect with the audience on a profoundly personal level. And that's what makes it an art. When you are able to use your words to prompt or to provoke and unearth emotions in people. You could want people to cry, and you can use your words to do it. You could want people to feel delighted, and you could use your words to do it. You could want people to feel a sense of hope. You could use your words to do it. So when the public speaker is aiming to connect with the audience emotionally and intellectually, he's practicing public speaking as an art. But when he is concerned more with information sharing, no matter what the results are, not really caring much about the
How they take
creative
it.
part or how they take it or how it is done, that's the structural, the architectural part, which is public speaking as an act.
Oh, okay. Like, I think that has just made it so clear to me. I've always wondered the difference between the two. Now, one thing I always see public speaking is when people, I think the highest difficulty people have when it comes to public speaking is the stage fright. Yeah, that's a real thing. Because whenever they tell you, oh, you're going to speak in front of maybe 500,000 people, like, that's so many eyes looking at me. So, was there ever a point for you where you felt stage fright, where you had to like beat stage fright, or maybe you help people now beat stage fright so they can be better public speakers? Because I believe in order for you to speak publicly, you have to have this boldness when speaking, and stage fright can be a hindrance to having that boldness. How does that look like, maybe with you, and maybe with those you teach?
Nervousness is part of the speaking journey. Honestly, you
All right.
cannot eliminate nervousness. It's not possible. You know, speakers will feel nervous. They may not really admit it, but they will feel nervous time and again. And if you feel nervous while speaking or while trying to speak, you don't need to feel like there is something wrong with you, you are sick, or whether you're a beginner or you're a seasoned speaker, it is possible for you to feel nervous. Now, I would say, and I insist on this, but I stand to be corrected, that nervousness is not conquered on stage. Stage fright is not conquered on stage. You conquer stage fright first by preparing well for your presentation.
Okay.
Preparing yourself for your presentation, preparing your presentation for you, and preparing your presentation for your audience. How do I conquer stage fright, and how do I advise people who I have the opportunity to coach to conquer stage fright? There are a few things you need to do. The first thing I would say, try to practice. Practice, as it is said, makes perfect. There is no perfection without practice, and so you need to practice your presentation. Why do I insist on practicing? It's important to practice because when you practice, you increase your sense of confidence, and confidence is a key to winning as a public speaker. You need to practice. Practice is irreplaceable. You cannot replace it. So, as I was saying some days ago, don't think that you will magically figure it out on stage. Probably you may feel that I'm naturally extroverted. I usually just have instantaneous ideas, so I would figure it out. If you continue with that kind of a habit, if you're used to it, one day you may be embarrassed because forgetting one word, forgetting a line can put you in some state of confusion and perplexity that can embarrass you and make your audience wonder whether you knew what you were going to say and put a question mark on your competence. And so you need to practice a lot. You can practice by recording yourself, having somebody record you, or even imagining stage performances and try to speak, and those are opportunities for you to really practice your art. The second thing that I would advise to do is to rest well. You need in as much as you have to invest in practicing, you need to rest well. Enough sleep will help you not to feel tired, not to yawn on the mic because it's a very bad habit.
Did people do that?
Probably, I want to imagine. I've never seen it myself, but I want to imagine that
Because
it may happen.
just imagine somebody give a speech and I was like, yes, ladies and gentlemen, oh.
I don't know how if people can resist yawning, but it can happen if you are
Oh
tired.
yeah, that's true.
And
it just comes.
it shouldn't happen if you're giving an important presentation and you yawn. It wouldn't feel professional, and you yourself, you feel embarrassed. And so you need to rest well so that your eyes will not be heavy or red, or you will not be tired or dizzy, because dizziness also contributes to forgetfulness and loss of consciousness. You may not know where you are. Imagine you're being introduced and you are dozing off. That's a really bad thing, an embarrassing scenario. Another thing I would say is that you should be hydrated. Drink some water. It's important. It helps you not to lick your lips on stage. Your lips may become cranky because of dehydration, and it's important for you to hydrate yourself so that you have some energy. Another thing which I would say is to practice positive self-talk. Nobody is going to convince you to become somebody that you want to be more than yourself. And so you need to practice positive self-talk. You need to visualize success, and you need to think about your audience as a friend. You need to understand, we all need to understand that most audiences are more forgiving than we imagine. There is no audience that is waiting for you to fail, that is standing on their feet wanting you to falter so that they can mock at you. Most audiences are usually very supportive that we may commit on stage.
Okay.
And so you need to think about that. And then you can listen to motivational videos, motivational songs also. You can listen to motivational songs, you can watch a movie, you can listen to motivational speeches that will help you to keep your energy high. These are a few things that I will tell any public speaker who is battling with stage fright. And another thing which I'd like you to know as a professional speaker or an aspiring professional speaker is that the feeling of nervousness is a feeling that is fleeting. On stage, within the first 10 seconds or even 1 minute, you may feel your heart pounding, you may feel your pulse, your pulse racing, you may feel that your palms are getting sweaty. And all of that are signs of nervousness. You do not have to feel that there's something wrong with you or think that you are going to mess up. You need to stay positive. And the more public speaking opportunities you have, the more you will get used to, the better you're going to become if you learn from your mistakes and you apply good principles.
Okay. Oh, that was a lot. That was a lot. Okay. You mentioned practicing, which I think is a very important part of getting good at public speaking. I've always imagined, like, if I want to go and present something, so because I do spoken word sometimes, and I have to always go, like, in front of a mirror, maybe record myself. Do you still do that now? As someone who is like a professional public speaker, do you still go to your mirror and be like, you're going to do this today and do that today? Do you still have those moments where you have to, like, record yourself in front of a mirror, maybe do those practice techniques that you tell your students to do to get better?
Yes, I do them very honestly and factually, because the impact of a man's message is his lifestyle. And so when you become an embodiment of the message that you preach, you know, your message is able to make more impact. And beyond just wanting to create impact, it helps me a lot. I do that, I practice, and sometimes when it is possible, I visit venues where I have to speak several days before. I just visit it to get acquainted with the place.
The atmosphere.
And acquainted with the atmosphere, thank you, so that I can practice even just for a few minutes. I've done that several times, and it works for me. It helps me to relax. It helps me to not be too scared or nervous or afraid. Yeah, I do that. I do that very much.
Okay, so that means that practice never ends, guys. Like, practice never ends. That's lovely. So I was going through your Facebook and I realized you have this somewhat, as I call it, organization, ERA, or is ERA? How do you call it?
I call it ERA.
ERA. So
Yeah.
What is ERA?
ERA is the full meaning. ERA is an acronym. The full meaning of ERA is Ebai Rhetoric Academy, and Ebai Rhetoric Academy is a community which has as purpose to help people present with elegance, eloquence, and ease. Like I said earlier on in my presentation in the talk, and ERA's focus is on practical issues and difficulties and challenges that people face with public speaking, whether they are people who are just starting out in their public speaking profession or career, or those who have been there for a while and still need some help, or those who even are masters already and may want to give back to their community by empowering one or two people. And generally, we reach out to our community and to the community around us by having frequent workshops in person that we organize. And these workshops have different purposes. One of them, which I told you earlier, was born in July 2020. It was born online. We had it online on WhatsApp, and today we have the privilege of having it in person. It's called public speaking etiquette. And public speaking etiquette's role is to make presentations easy for everyone. So this is a public speaking training for beginners, people who want to learn the basics, people who want to understand the basics and grow in the basics of public speaking. That is why during the public speaking etiquette, we handle things like creating presentation, crafting presentations, delivering presentations, and other issues surrounding presentations like dealing with nervousness, connecting with an audience, and so on and so forth. Those are the things that we focus on when we have public speaking etiquettes. We have another program called Microphone Ethics. It happens once a year, and this year will be the third time it's going to happen, everything being equal. So Microphone Ethics is a public speaking training for leadership development. This one is a communications training for leaders. It's more leader oriented and leader focused. Microphone Ethics is actually a concept my team and I developed, understanding that most of the time the leader is in a position with a lot of power. He has the ability to share opinions. He has the ability to change narratives. And so if he doesn't address communication issues right as a leader in his organization, either as CEO, CFO, or anybody in a position of power, there may be a lot of things that will go wrong. Now, that is why during this particular training called Microphone Ethics, we focus on issues related to leaders and communication, leaders and speaking. So we have issues like cross-cultural communication, we have issues like how to blend different cultures into your communication, which is cross-cultural communication, of course. And we have issues like emotional intelligence, its role in communication, and other issues that have to do with the leader and his communication abilities. So these are the two ways for now in which we have been reaching out to people consistently. We also have monthly webinars that we hold that teach people on the fundamentals, the basics, and some disruptive ideas on public speaking. So in an attempt to help people present with elegance, eloquence, and ease, we organize these programs in person and virtually to help the community grow.
That's great. That's a lot of work done. I know how much, because I'm somebody that I think I am continually growing with the way I present myself in front of an audience and the way I speak. Like, I think if you look at me years back, the way I spoke, I really used to run over my words, like just, "Rrr." And even now, I think sometimes I still get hints of that. But everything you've said actually does play in reaching that point of getting better at speaking and presenting in front of people. So I'd like to know, like, how many people have you, like, if you want to give a approximative number, how many people have you been able to maybe train that you can say you have seen them grow from maybe beginners to a point where they can actually address an audience with certain boldness?
Okay, for now, in my personal work, era excluded, in my personal work, I've trained a lot of people over the last 5 years, since 2019. I've trained a lot of people, that's 2,000 plus. But if I must count the people whom I have had an eye on, I think they should be less than 10. I think they should be less than 10. The people whom I have had an eye on, or people whom I still have their number.
Many are called for that few are chosen, right?
Yeah. The people who I have an eye on,
Yeah.
people who I still have their number, whom I have personally trained and coached for a period of time. I think they should be less than 10. And there are names that are coming to my head as we are discussing. So it's generally because I would say the system in the beginning wasn't built to really follow people up in that way. We're just setting people on fire and letting them go burn here and there. But in the nearest future, probably this year, we are coming up with structures that will permit us to follow through the growth process of not everybody, but a certain group of people who will have a selected few people that will have the privilege to train.
Oh, that's amazing.
Thank you.
I think I might join one of those classes someday. Because
Yeah.
I think everybody needs to learn. I don't think at any point we can be like we are the best at doing things. There are always things we can learn from you, learn from social media. Like I said, you go and find other people that do that online. It's a really important skill to have, I would say. So I believe when people come to you, they always come like, okay, they want to learn how to speak in front of a crowd. But are there people that come and they're like, just want to speak maybe in front of one person? Because I believe that people that are actually shy to a point, or maybe introverted to a point where having normal communications, even with friends, is difficult. I've seen people like that, maybe in my classes before, where to talk with their classmates or just have this normal interaction with people is like very difficult. So do you have people that come to you and maybe their objective is not really to have this massive audience they speak to, but just to have this normal, like friendly conversations that they have difficulties with?
I think I may have received such requests, but they are very few. I don't know if I will categorize the people I have in my head like this, but there are people who come to me sometimes when they have a defense in 1 week, 2 weeks time, or 1 month time, and they want a kind of quick training. And with the quick training, they feel that they will be able to get some fundamentals, probably because they haven't had prior exposure to speaking opportunities, or maybe they have had the opportunity and they didn't embrace it, and so now they are found wanting, and then they want to be able to acquire the basics that will help them just present. The people you're talking about in the category that you mentioned, that I have had the opportunity to interact with, are actually people who have a specific target. Okay, my defense is coming up. I just want you to teach me something so that I can go and defend. I've had several of such cases, and I still have several of such cases currently.
I just put away for the dying minutes, like,
Yes,
it's tomorrow, please.
probably.
I need like 2 hours. I should download 5 years for your life in 2 hours right now.
Probably, and I don't know how that works, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's very effective.
Okay, so what would you say is like the biggest like population, let me say crowd you have spoken to over the years?
Over the years, I addressed quite a good number of people, but do you mean at once?
I mean, yeah, like at once, like.
Yeah, I remember in 2023, on the 17th of December, 2023.
You're very good with dates. I realized that. You're very good with dates. You're like, oh, it's July of this, da, da, da.
Yeah. On the 17th of December, 2023, I have my very good friend in the USA now, who had an event in Bamenda at Damukong Baptist Church at the Damukong Street there. So on that day, I don't remember how many people were in that hall, but I think they should have been, if there were not many, they should have been 200. For now, that is the approximate number I think I had.
What was the aim of the
program was
gathering?
The program was a charity gala. She has a foundation, and so the foundation usually has an end of year gala. So that the aim of the gathering was a charity gala, so that people could understand more about what the foundation is doing, how the foundation is impacting young children, because they work with children, people in secondary school and children, and also to contribute for the next year's activities, to also do a vision cast to make people understand and to see how to do a fundraiser for the foundation. So that was the aim of the event. That's what brought me to Bamenda. I was
Okay.
particularly very happy to be there because it's my friend, and her invitations I cannot turn them down even if I'm very busy. Yeah.
Okay, so were you there like a host, hosting
I
the
was
ceremony?
I was there more in the capacity of a speaker
Okay.
because there were several speakers on that day. There should have been around 8 speakers, if I'm not exaggerating. But I was there more like a speaker because my presentation was more of encouragement to the young people who were there, not to, since the foundation does skills training. My encouragement was for the young people not to take their skills and sit on them or lie on their laurels.
Very
And
important.
yeah, and I think most of the other speakers too presented things based on their expertise, but brought them around helping the children understand that you need to do something with the skills which you've acquired over the last 5 months or so.
So I think I would just like to ask this question. When it comes to hosting, I don't know if have you had any experience like maybe hosting programs?
Yes, I've had
Okay.
experiences hosting
Okay,
programs.
when it comes to hosting, there's this aspect of co-hosting where you have to speak with somebody. I don't know if have you been in that setting where you have to like have a co-host, like you speak and the person speaks maybe different languages, or you have to host a program together.
Yes, I've had to host a program with a very good friend of mine.
Okay. I
I've
think I'm,
had
I'm
to.
going bit by bit because the question at finally is when you're hosting a program with someone, I think I've always found this very intriguing when two people are speaking simultaneously but trying to drive the program to a particular direction. Are there any
Okay.
particular etiquettes that maybe they have to be aware of while they are hosting together? Is there like already deemed agreements that maybe speakers or hosts have to know when they are maybe doing like co-hosting with each other?
Okay, there are two scenarios I would present. The first is that I've had the opportunity to co-host an event with a friend of mine. I think it was the second edition of Public Speaking Etiquette. Public Speaking Etiquette, the second edition, 23rd September 2023. And during that period, what stood out for me was understanding the other host. Yes, because she was a co-host to the event, and at the same time, she was also a speaker. So
Okay.
both of us were speaking on the event, but we were hosting the program together. So most of the work has to be done at the background. You have to know the confines of your job as a co-host, and the other person has to know where their responsibilities start and where their responsibilities end. And both of you have to understand that you work as a team. You are not competing, you are collaborating.
Definitely.
Yes, and so when you understand that and you draw a structured program and you commit yourselves to making sure that you are accountable so that you can follow the program, when this happens, when there's that backstage cohesion, on stage it's just going to be perfect. Now, about people speaking different languages, last year in August, I had the opportunity to speak at the International Leadership Foundation on to young children. And while there, I was going there, not probably knowing immediately that I had to present in French. But what happened at the end of the day is the audience was mostly made up of French-speaking children. And so me not being so good in French, I needed an interpreter. And so an interpreter came on stage, and I'm just really grateful for that opportunity because it gave me the opportunity to try to calm down. Try to calm down in the sense that sometimes I speak fast. Sometimes my pace can be so fast, probably because I'm struggling with time or other factors. My pace can be fast, but I had to calm down knowing that I have to make one or two sentences and wait
And wait, yeah.
for the other person to interpret in French. And sometimes I would switch to French, she would switch to English. She was really dynamic. I do not know this lady, I've never met her before, except on that day, but she was really very dynamic. She understood every sentence I was presenting in English and will translate it. And when I switch, she's going to switch. I enjoyed the experience altogether, and she was listening because when it was time for Q&A, she asked questions related to the presentation, which she was interpreting. So it just proved to me that she was very attentive.
That's very
and
dynamic
she
of
was,
her, like.
yeah, and she was very meticulous in her translation.
So would you say like an important part of being a speaker, especially when you're in a gathering where maybe when you speak you have to maybe receive back, is listening?
Yeah, a good speaker is a good listener.
Oh.
There is no, it's a needless
Tell us
debate.
more about that particular one.
Okay, a good speaker is a good listener, and I say it's a needless debate because a speaker doesn't just have to speak. Your job is not only to speak. As a speaker, you're a communicator, and a communicator is an educator. An educator has to be conscious of their environment, and you have to be focused. There are three kinds of focus. There is the inner focus, that means your subconscious. You know, this is me, I am here, and I'm conscious that I'm here. I know that I'm here. And then there is the outer focus that has to do with you understanding your environment. Okay, I'm in this room now. This is where I am. And this is the people who are around me, or the things which are around me. I know what I'm seeing. I know what I'm hearing. I know what I'm feeling. I know what I'm tasting. And then there is the other focus. Other focus has to do with you having an open concentration, being focused on the other people. A public speaker, a good public speaker who is a leader, who is an educator, must have these three things in check as he or she presents. Now, this will require you to listen. You can't focus if you are not listening. There is a difference, as we know, between hearing and listening. Listening is intentional. Hearing can be unintentional. You can hear what somebody says without even wanting to know it. It wasn't your fault. It just got into your ears.
Yeah.
But if you have to listen, you have to pay particular attention to what the person is saying. You have to be invested in what whoever is saying. And so a good speaker is a good listener in the sense that he's able to listen to you, listen to your body reactions. Your eyes are saying something. Your body is saying something when your mouth is not speaking. Your hands are saying something. The audience, their faces are saying something. Their mouths are saying something. Their feet are saying something. And so a public speaker should be able to listen to feedback with an open mind, and especially critical feedback that sometimes you feel that is attacking your personality. You know, there are some questions that somebody will ask, they have left the debate, they have left the point,
They're focused on you.
and they are focusing on you.
Oh, that's right.
And sometimes you have to be able to deal with that. And to be able to deal with feedback properly, you have to learn how to listen. And if you must listen, you must suspend your judgment. You must suspend your judgment in the sense that if I believe that 1 + 1 is 2, and that's my conviction, it's okay to have a conviction. But if I must be able to connect with the audience, I must be empathetic and accept that they must not agree with me. They are not obliged to agree with me. And so I must accept their point of view. I must understand. I must be willing to gently and warmly answer their questions or address their worries in a way that will make them comfortable, and in a way that will make them also receive my feedback, however unsatisfying it may be.
Oh, that's so nice. I just sat down. I was like, there's so much learned in that particular thing that I just said right now, because when we look into the aspect of communication, many people believe like communication is me talking, you listening. And they forget that there's that aspect of, okay, communication, so you listening back to the feedback, because it's not just you send information back, sending information out, but it's getting back the feedback. Until you have arrived at that point where you have the feedback out, the communication is not complete.
Perfect.
So that's something that I think a lot of people should pay attention to when they are talking about communicating. Because a lot of people are like, I just want to talk, listen to me. And do not listen to maybe, like you said, the body reactions. Maybe you're not realizing their audience already gets maybe somehow bored. You have to switch it up. Maybe the atmosphere you're creating, you have to switch it up to be maybe joyful, to pick them back up. So that's very important. What will you say? It's a question. We say, Is it possible for someone to depend on public speaking as a job? That is public speaking profitable? Is it profitable?
You are the one who decides if it's profitable or not. You are the one who decides.
Interesting.
Public speaking, as we said, is an act, is an art, it's a skill, and it can also be a profession. You can make it your profession, but you have to define your niche. For you to be a professional, it means you're doing one thing well. And you cannot call it a skill if you have not mastered it. I am a public speaker, for instance, and I am a speaker coach. Now, what do I speak about? I speak about public speaking. You can be a public speaker and you speak and you are an advocate for gender-based violence. You are a public speaker because you have the opportunity regularly to address gender-based violence before people. That makes you a public speaker. And that makes you a professional speaker because your idea is on addressing a particular issue. You can be a public speaker and you're an educator in the tech field. That makes you a professional speaker because you focus on one aspect. Now, public speaking emphatically can be a source of income for you if you want to make it a source of income. How can you make public speaking a source of income? You make public speaking a source of income the way you make any profession a source of income. You have to build a system around it. You have to think about your ideal client, your ideal customer. Who am I? What is my message? First of all, what is my message? You cannot talk about everything. If you're talking about everything, you're talking about nothing. If you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. So what one thing do you want to address? Or I usually advise, think about 3 things that you are sure you're passionate about. Look at them critically in such a way that you can focus on the most important. I have so many interests. When it comes to marketing, I could go on for hours. If it comes to branding, I could go on for hours. But I am no branding expert. I'm no marketing expert. I have several certifications, not to sound arrogant, but I have several certifications because I took so many courses. But those courses, they were just out of excitement. Today, I'd speak about public speaking. And so you have to understand, what is my message, number 1. Number 2, who is my audience? Who is the message for? Is it for middle school students? Is it for PhD holders? Is it for people selling a particular product? Is it for tech enthusiasts? When you are able to paint the clear picture of your ideal audience and you know your message, that's the starting point. Now you start building yourself up so that you will be able to deliver well. In the beginning, you can't just make money from it. It's not transactional. You won't say, come and listen to me and give me money. Let me show you how to become a better tech person if you are teaching in tech. But you have to build a system around it. Teach people here and there. In the beginning, you may have to do a lot of volunteering. Volunteering means that you will have to plead for people to give you opportunities to speak. You either access other people's platforms or you create your own platform like you have done. You either access other people's platforms through strategic partnerships and relationships or create your platforms. Once you have gained the trust of people enough, you can start charging. And there's something they call psychological price. You don't just charge like that. You charge based on the value you put on what you offer. And so you cannot, for instance, make the mistake of starting your public speaking journey last week, and this week you are charging 100,000 francs for people who want to learn public speaking from you when nobody knows you. People need to know you. Enough people need to know you. And from there, when you've gained their trust, you've gained you've gained their trust, and they believe in what you're doing, and they see you as a go-to person, as a thought leader in your domain, then you can start charging, and charging progressively, so that you know that your audience is the people who will be able to afford what you offer as value. And so you need to build yourself. Know your message, know your audience, build yourself, don't minimize relationships. Please do not make these mistakes.
Listen,
Do not
don't minimize
try
relationships.
to compete with people you should be collaborating with. Do not try to compete with people you should be collaborating with. And when you do that, meet other professionals, learn from them, learn from those who have gone ahead of you, and then start charging progressively. But it will take time. You will fall, you will rise, you will make mistakes, you will learn.
Very
but you don't need
important
to
part.
give up. You don't need to give up. If you want quick fixes, it doesn't exist in the world of communication. Yeah.
Okay, so as a public speaker, are there any like when since you're someone that appears in front of people often, when it comes to now like appearance wise, are there any particular things that you follow, disciplines that you take like based on your dressing, your presentation physically? Because I believe when you walk into a stage, the very first impression is how do you look, right? So is there anything that you take in mind when you deal with your physical presentation to an audience?
You know, the way, as it is said, the way you dress will determine the way you will be addressed. Usually, before people even see your face, when you climb on stage, they notice your dressing. That's the first aspect of your body that they notice about your dressing. And so, as a speaker, your dressing has a psychological effect first on you.
Yeah, that's true.
You must wear clothes that are comfortable in your skin and clothes that fit well. You may have noticed that when you dress in a manner that you yourself admire, you feel confident.
Yeah, that's
It's
true.
a confidence boost.
Yeah, it is.
We can't lie about that. And so a public speaker should dress in a way that he or she feels comfortable. At the same time, you should dress for the event and dress for the audience. What does that mean? I usually advise that a good public speaker, professional speaker, should avoid extravagance. Extravagance in the sense that there are certain things that you will put on for certain events that may end up distracting people. I'm not going to go into details to make people feel embarrassed, but if you know that you're going to be addressing young children, Gen Z children, very young children, and you're putting on a Rolex watch, which some of them have seen on the internet and they are aware of the price, and you are going to address them, there is a tendency that they are going to be distracted by your watch. Some people, some of these children, if they have a phone, they want to film you, or they'll be talking about you instead of listening to your message. And you do not want to stand in the way of your own message. You want to be able to deliver your message and have people listen to you and take something back home. And so, dressing plays a lot in the way you will be seen, in the way you will even be valued, and the kind of circles where you will be accepted. And as we know, not every dressing is meant for every occasion. There's certain occasions where you have to dress in a particular way. You need to respect the dressing code.
Very
So
true.
dressing plays a huge role in your success as a public speaker. There is a book, you could find it on the internet by doing a simple Google search, Dress for Success. I think every public speaker should search for that book and read it because it's really important.
Get it, guys. Find Dress for Success. It's a great book for dressing. I think I myself will go and find that. Because I always prefer when I'm searching for clothes to put on for any occasion, I always think first in comfort.
Yeah.
It's always comfort, like what would I feel best represents me in that particular space.
Yeah.
So it's never like, oh, what would I stand out? It's more like, what do I feel comfortable in first by myself before I'm thinking about how other people perceive me. So yeah, so thank you very much for getting to the end of this interview.
Okay.
But before we're going to close everything, we have said so much, we've learned so much, but what will you say should we take back as the top things to note in public speaking?
The first thing I would say is nobody is born a great public speaker. Public speaking is a skill that must be learned. If it must be learned, it means it must be taught. You don't learn something without having a teacher. And so public speaking must be learned. You must grow in it if you must master it. There is no shortcut to it. And if you want to grow, if you intend to grow in your public speaking career or as a professional speaker in whatever domain of life you want to be presenting, you need 3 people: a mentor, a coach, and a role model. Everybody who intends to be great needs these 3 people: a mentor, a coach, and a role model. And so you need to look for these 3 people, and blessed is the man who finds the 3 people in one person. So it's a skill that must be learned. You learn it to grow in it. You learn it to become better in it. The second thing is, please, for aspiring speakers, do not be afraid of making mistakes. Okay. There may be times when you will prepare for your presentation so much, and when you get on stage, one thing will lead to the other. You will forget a line. You will forget the flow of your thought. Please, if you find yourself in such a situation, instead of getting overly emotional, which I wonder how you can control it, but you should apologize to the audience respectfully and take a break and come back or revise your notes quickly. Do not be ashamed of using notes, except your host tells you categorically you shouldn't use notes. And do not be afraid of making mistakes. So these 2 things: you must be a good public speaker. You must understand that it's a skill that you learn. And number 2, please do not be afraid of making mistakes. And number 3, do not try to compete with people you should be collaborating with, because many people, out of some level of quiet arrogance, do not want to connect with others and close doors to themselves. So do not be afraid to connect with people. Not every opportunity is for you, but apply first. Not every door you knock will be open to you, but knock first. One never knows where you're going to find an opportunity through a relationship, through a resource, through a connection that will lead you to the spotlight. Because at the end of the day, you want to be in the spotlight, not for your sake, for the sake of those you've been called for. And so you need to apply these 3 things.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. That's a lot. Thank you very much for joining us, Ebai Ekwet. Now,
you.
Can you tell our wonderful audience how can they get you? Maybe there's someone out there now that has thought, okay, yeah, I really need to start getting more, learning more about public speaking. I have this problem here and there. Maybe I like to meet him so he can maybe mentor me, show me, like teach me. How do people find you?
Okay, thank you. You can find me by writing to me on my email, ebaiekwet123@yahoo.com, or you can write to me on Instagram. My handle is Ebai Ekwet, or on TikTok, my handle is Ebai Ekwet. Via these 3 channels, you can easily get to me and I would reply. I would be able to talk with you, understand how I can be of help to you, and of course, how you can also be of help to me based on your expertise or on our shared interest.
Okay, so you've got the information, guys. Go to Ebai Ekwet, TikTok, and Instagram. Check out his email. It has been a wonderful time having you, Ebai Ekwet. I've learned a lot, and I believe with the few things I've learned and maybe more interactions with you, I'm going to get better at public speaking. Definitely.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, that's lovely. Okay, guys, thank you very much for joining us on this episode of the E-Report on our special segment of the Youth Wisdom. But before you're going anywhere, make sure you're liked and subscribed to this channel. You've liked this video, share it to those who you know need this video. There are many people out there who need to learn about public speaking, learn the importance of public speaking. So make sure to share this video and see you for our very next video next Wednesday again for our live stream. But do keep up with all our other episodes. Bye.